Justin Inwick from WRTV, and this is Robyn Shauff from the Burnett General Hospital. And with us we also have Richard Borgstrom. Today we're going to do a program about weightlifting. And what's the most important thing, do you think, before you start lifting?
The most important thing is just general conditioning before you start doing weightlifting. I think flexibility exercises are very important in any weight training program. And before we start actually lifting, I like to talk a little bit about the importance of flexibility and the most important stretches to do before you lift. Would that be all right with you?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I think you will be doing our demonstration, or I can demonstrate some of the stretches actually. Some of the most important stretches, the two basic ones for back care, especially back care, but also care of your knees and your legs, are hamstring stretches, and I'm sure everyone knows how to do those. I would imagine you guys do the hurdle stretches.
Yeah, maybe you can show us.
Yeah, maybe you would like to show us.
The stretches that I usually see, and we'll have you bend your leg up like this, and then again reach for your foot. And to stretch the hamstrings more fully, what I want you to do is extend your stomach, stick your stomach out. Can you feel that pull more than stretching your back flexion? When you just bend forward at your back, if you stick your stomach out, that pulls the hamstrings more taut. And I would repeat that about 5 times. Get that hamstring nice and stretched out. Hold it for the count of 10 each time. Make sure you do it on both legs and get both hamstrings stretched out. Then something that a lot of people neglect and is very important with back care is back extension stretching. And to do that, I'll have you get on your stomach and put your hands in the position like you were going to do a push-up. But instead of pushing up, I want you to leave your hips down and just arch your back and stretch up. Do you feel a nice stretch through here and a stretch through your abdominals? I would do that 10 times for the count of 5.
Is it important to stretch out before you do any lifts?
Yes, it is. To get the muscles, the blood flowing through the muscles, to get them stretched out, it's a big factor in preventing injuries.
Okay, when now we're finished with the stretching, what will you continue with then, do you think?
Let's just talk about basic body mechanics and the importance of them with lifting. Why don't we demonstrate by going through a squat lift, and I'll talk about body mechanics with you. Okay?
Okay. Richard has a belt on. Is that necessary?
I think the belt is important, and I'll tell you why once we get started with the lift here. I'll explain that. The belt, more than anything, I don't know that it offers that much of support, but it's a reminder to use proper back mechanics and keep you from flexing forward and putting yourself in the position to injure your back. Okay, shall we get started here?
Yeah, now we'll get started.
Okay. When you're lifting and doing squat lifts, the most important thing is to keep your head high, your chin tucked in. Let's have you tuck your chin in a little bit here, but keep the head up, shoulders up high. And what I want you to do here is arch your back a little bit more.
Like this?
Yes, get yourself in a nice balanced position. Professional weightlifters keep their back nice and arched. Then I want you to go ahead and let's have you do your squat. Nice, slow movements. No jerking and no twisting. No flexing and twisting at the same time. And here he's using very good body mechanics. I would like to see a little bit more arch in your back when you're lifting. Good. And nice, slow movements. The one other thing that I would like to comment on is, when lifting like this, he has a nice broad base of support. His arms are a little bit more than shoulder width apart, and that's good. Also, what I like to see is one foot just a little bit forward. A little bit more forward than the other one, like so.
Okay. More.
That gives you a little bit more balanced stance. It helps you keep that good back alignment.
So here we see how you're supposed to do a squat lift.
Another thing that I should mention is You'll be stronger and you'll find you're stronger if you tighten your stomach muscles when you're doing these lifts. As you're lifting, tighten up those stomach muscles and perform the lift. That increases the pressure in your abdominal cavity and allows your whole abdominal cavity to become a weight-bearing structure. So you, instead of just using your spine and your hips, you have this whole trunk region as weight-bearing structure. The other thing is good cushioned shoes, and I would tie your shoes if I were you, just to prevent any slipping. That prevents any of those jerking motions. Okay.
Okay, and what should we move on to now?
Let's just review here. I'll talk about some common mistakes that we make. Even when you are just picking up your weights, when you're starting, free weights, small weights, using proper body mechanics at all times is really important. Bending at the knees to pick up whatever's on the floor, even if it's just a small load. Never bend and lift up weights, even if it's just, the end parts of the weights here, like this. That increases all the pressure on your back. Anything that you hold at arm's length, the weight of that object is increased 10 times. That's 10 times the stress on your spine and your hips. If I'm holding an object out here at 30 pounds and I bend like this, I'm putting 300 pounds of extra force on my spine. If it's here, it's 30 pounds, and out here it's 300 pounds plus the weight of my trunk, whatever that might be.
So you mean you should lift with your knees, not your back?
Right, bend at the knees and hips, keep one foot a little bit ahead of the other, nice wide base of support, back slightly arched in its normal position, shoulders up high, head up high, chin a little bit tucked.
Okay, now we'll go over and demonstrate the deadlift.
Okay.
And you want to say something about that?
The same rules of body mechanics apply when you're doing a deadlift as I just showed you with the squat. You use the proper base of support. I'd like to see the one foot just slightly ahead of the other. It doesn't matter which one, whichever you're more comfortable with. Make sure you have comfortable, non-slip shoes to prevent any of that jerking. Use the legs more than the body. Tighten up the abdominal, the stomach muscles to increase your weight bearing. Tuck your chin a little bit just to prevent stress on your neck and upper back and keep those shoulders high. And let's just have you show us a proper lift here. Okay. And go back down. I'm going to have you try it again. This time I want that foot just a little bit further ahead. And let's have you bend down at the knees. And instead of sticking your butt out here so much, I don't like this duck position we have here. I want you to bend even slightly further. Keep this back nice and high. Don't get those butts sticking out here too far because that tells me that your back isn't in a straight alignment in a balanced position. Now let's have you lift. Up straight, head just like it has a string pulling you up towards the ceiling and down. That's much better. Do you want to show this from the side view so you can see what I mean? Oh, okay, just to show you what I mean again from a different view. This is the way Richard started doing the lift the first time. And you can see what I mean where his back is more rounded here. It's flexed and then his butt is sticking out. When he bends a little bit further, gets that foot up in front of him, gets the butt tucked in and the back arched a little bit more. See how nice and flat his back is? He doesn't have that flexion in his back. And then let's have you lift straight up, just like I have a string pulling up here. And then back down the exact same way. And that's much better mechanics. That's using the strength of your legs instead of your lower back. And again, that's what the belt is here to remind you of.
Okay. Well, in the back injuries, where's the usually injuries come?
In lifting injuries like this, it's usually in the lumbar spine, which is the low back area, from about here to here. And common injuries in people from about 20 to 40, younger adults, are disc bulges. And that's the exact mechanics that you have when you have that type of back injury. A disc injury is when you are lifting something heavy in a flexed position with the back flexed instead of a nice straight back, keeping good postural alignment and supporting the structures of your body.
Okay, now we'll move over and have a look at the bench press.
Okay.
demonstrate the bench press here, and I see he still has a belt on. Is that necessary?
Back injuries with bench pressing are a little bit less common. The belt isn't quite as essential with this type of lifting as it is when you're lifting with the lower extremities. You can leave it on or you can take it off. To me, that's not such a big deal with this type of lifting. More safety considerations with this are just the normal safety features, like not lifting a load that's too heavy for you, to have sufficient strength, to test this before you do it, to use spotters. I think that's very important. So why don't you just demonstrate a bench lift? And I'm going to be a spotter here. Also, securing the weights on the barbells here are very important. Okay. Also, securing the weights on the barbells here is quite important, so we don't have any slipping or any accidents that way. Okay. And that's fine.
Where should the weight go down? Should it go lifted out and go straight down, or should it go up?
Straight down. So that's where you have the most power, is right across the chest area here. That's what you're trying to build, are the pectoralis muscles. That's where your power is. So right across the chest. Good.
Okay, and now we'll move over to next exercise, which is
Cleans.
okay. Do you have anything you want to say about cleans?
Why don't you show me how you do them before we... Rules of lifting apply when doing this technique as with the squat.
Okay. Well, now we're doing the cleans here, and do you have anything to say about that?
This lift is a little bit more dangerous to your back than I feel that the other lifts are. And the reason being, in that sequence where you're lifting the bar from the hip level up to the chest, people have a tendency to put their back into more flexion. So I like how Richard is doing this here, keeping his back in good alignment, keeping the stomach slightly out. Again, tighten the stomach muscles while you're doing this. And when you lift that bar up, keep up nice and straight, the shoulders up. Don't flex forward to get more momentum to bring that bar up. Stay in the proper alignment and get the bar up to the chest. And the same applies when going back to the floor. Bend at the knees, keep a wide base of support, one foot slightly ahead of the other. There you go. And it's that phase right there that I'm most concerned about and that you should concentrate on the most, in keeping the back nice and straight. And if you cannot maintain that straight back, even a slight arch in your back, then you're lifting too much weight. And you have to train at a lower level until you can lift a little bit more weight.
I've seen other people lifting. They use one hand like this and one like this when they lift. Does that help any, or?
I think that's a case of individuality. I don't know that it makes that much difference as far as safety is concerned, and I'm not too sure if it does as far as strength is concerned either. Okay.
We talked a lot about you need good stomach muscles to do the other lifts, and how do you think you can train your stomach muscle best?
Everyone knows how to do sit-ups. And sit-ups are obviously the most obvious exercise to strengthen your stomach muscles. I'm concerned because I see a lot of people doing sit-ups improperly. Stomach strength is obviously important, and we've talked about that, tightening your stomach muscles when you're doing the other lifts. Let's just have Richard do a sit-up for me here. Just do a normal sit-up. And actually, he really has pretty good technique, but what I want to say is the phase of the sit-up from where you lift your head and you lift your shoulders, I want you to hold right there. This is the phase of a sit-up that's actually strengthening your stomach muscles. That's when your stomach muscles are hard and tense. Anything after that, any more flexion than that, you're actually using your hip flexor muscles and your quads, and you're not really strengthening your stomach. Instead of doing the regular repetitive up and down sit-ups, if you really want to strengthen your stomach muscles, what you will do is just tuck your chin to your chest, lift your shoulders off the mat, and hold right there to the count of 10. Remember to keep breathing. And then lower yourself down. And repeat that instead of doing the whole flexion. When you're doing regular sit-ups and you're repeating and you're just coming up and down to the knees, the momentum is helping you, and that's not really a strengthening activity. And then, like I said again, to really get at the upper abdominal muscles, it's just that first phase of the sit-up is where you're using the abdominal muscles, and anything after that, you're using your legs. And you can even see his legs come up because he's flexing at his hips and using his quads.
So just lift up a bit and then hold to the count of 10 and then go slow down again.
And you feel the difference?
Yes.
Yeah, you can really feel your actual stomach muscles working versus your leg muscles. And then if you want to isolate even more and work from here down, the lower abdominal muscles, then the exercise that you do, and I'm sure everyone's familiar with this too, is the arms down at the side and bring the feet together and lift, and don't arch your back up. And you'll feel those lower abdominal muscles working. Hold that for the count of 10 and then rest. And those really isolate the stomach muscles and the muscles that you need for stability in the back.
When you start training, do you think it's more important to do stomach muscles before you start doing that, or doesn't that matter?
Of course, most healthy people have a good amount of muscle tone, and you can start at a low level in weight training and be all right. But I still think this is a good supplement to any weight training program. The flexibility exercises, the hamstring stretches, the back extension stretches, the abdominal exercises, also shoulder stretches against the wall, stretching the pectoralis muscles to prevent any shoulder injuries, and groin stretches, the butterfly stretches like this to prevent any groin pulls are important too in any kind of training, not just weight training.
After training, we heard you're supposed to stretch out. What does that really do to the body?
It prevents cramping. It stretches out those muscles. It allows the blood to flow in there. It's just a prevention of injury. It's a cool down. It allows those muscles to relax after training. It prevents you from getting sore. If you do feel real sore, or if you think you've had an injury right away, you should ice that injury. If it doesn't go away within 2 or 3 days, the pain, then you should call your doctor and make sure you're resting.
Okay, just cut. And after the squat, we should do the following stretching.
The hamstring stretch after all of these lower extremity weightlifting exercises. The back extension stretch where you lay on your stomach and press up. Good. And then also a heel cord stretch, and I didn't mention this one before, but let's have you stand up, Richard. And I'm sure you've done the one where you push against the wall. Yep, and stretch.
When you stretch, how long should you hold?
I sustain most of these stretches for about 20 seconds. Nice holding 20 seconds, between 5 and 10 repetitions each.
And do you have to breathe all the time?
Mm-hmm. Yes, breathing is important. Keeping, yeah.
Okay.
That's all right.
And after the bench press, we will do the following stretching. Okay.
And then it's important to stretch the shoulder group, like Richard is doing the pec stretch to stretch out the pectoralis muscles and that anterior part of his shoulder.
These muscles, they go over here?
Yep, exactly. And then a tricep stretch where you pull back like this.
Maybe you can turn around so we can have a look from the other side. Which
Yes.
muscles do that take?
That, there he's stretching his tricep muscles and actually some of the scapular muscles,
Yes.
the lats down through here.
Okay.
They should be stretching when he's pulling. And then just on a cross body stretch, the same way, stretching out that scapular group, the muscles of the shoulder blade, and across the deltoids and that gets the triceps too then. Okay.
Okay. For cleans and deadlifts, we should use the same stretching as we did for the squats.
Then, after doing curl-ups and the lower abdominal exercises, I would want you to stretch your abdominal muscles by doing the press up. And that makes a nice stretch for the low back and the upper abdominal muscles.
And how to stretch out right. And can you tell us a bit, you work with injuries like this. What's the most common injuries?
For high school students and college athletes, you don't see so many back injuries, but it's important to start back care early and to be aware of the cumulative damage that you can do to your back even in these early years, because usually a back injury doesn't just happen, it's a result of cumulative trauma or overuse over a period of time. So it's important to start using good body mechanics now, not just in exercise or weightlifting, but just in your daily life and lifting. With athletes, more common are extremity injuries, knee injuries, ankle injuries, and shoulder injuries, but the same rules apply. Flexibility is very important, doing the flexibility exercises, and just general conditioning, not lifting a weight that is sufficient for you, not overlifting, not trying to carry a load that's too heavy for yourself, and increasing your work over time.
So if you want to avoid a back injury or a sore back when you get older, this is the time to start?
That's right. Something else I should have said before too is I see a lot of high school athletes who concentrate on one area of their body, especially in this lifting, and forget about other areas, and that's another thing that makes you susceptible to injury. I see a lot of high school athletes, especially, now I shouldn't pick on anyone, but football players who have these enormous quad muscles, and they look very nice, and they've been doing all these, squats, and their quads are really big, or they're doing leg presses, and they get real big quads. But don't forget your hamstring muscles. Don't forget to strengthen them and stretch them and keep your body in balance to prevent knee injuries, hip injuries, and so on.
Strengthen all the muscles, not only special ones.
Right.
Okay. This brings this to a conclusion. I would like to thank Robyn Shauff from the Burnett General Hospital.
Thank you for having me, Justin.
And Richard Bergström, which did all the lifts for us.
Thanks. It was fun.
And remember remember this next time you go out lifting, and to prevent damages later in your life.